Zapomniałam. Welcome to today's second live stream session from the World Junior B Curling Championships 2019-2020. And as you can see, the live stream game that we're featuring today is England versus Finland, and it is the junior women's session this time. I will try to make sure that you will also get a visual of the sheet next to this game where Hungary is playing against Kazakhstan. Today in this session we've only got four games going on, so not all 6 sheets are being used. Normally we would get a view of 3 different games going on at the same time with our overhead camera, but at least you'll be getting the 2 games today. If you have any questions or requests during the live stream about the commentary, or you're wondering about the rules of the game, please feel free to ask in the live chat section, and I will be happy to answer if I can. But now getting to our featured game, the first end is well underway here, and both of the teams are still a little bit finding their draw weight, but a lot happening already in the first end. Kazakhstan has been a little bit light with their draws. Finland's maybe slightly heavy with their draws, but at the moment things are looking pretty good for Finland because they also have the hammer or last rock in this end. An unfortunate miss there by Kazakhstan. Their shot, England. I was still thinking about last night's game, which was also a feature game for Finland on this same sheet. But yeah, unfortunate miss there by England, just slightly overcurled that shot and caught the guard. And Finland has a chance to put more pressure on. And a very well placed guard there by the Finnish third player Josefina Satto. And I will go through the names of the players towards the end of this end. So for England, we've got Anna Howie playing lead, Mia Andel playing second, Annabelle Martin playing third, and Sydney Boyd playing fourth. And for the Finnish team, the lead is Jasmin Satto, the second is Jasmine Nilosaari, third Josefina Satto, and fourth player and skip Noora Suuripää. Looks like England can see a little gap there between the 2 guards, and they're trying to play a takeout through that. It is a little bit wide, but they're very lucky to catch the guard there and play a promotion run back with that and get rid of Finland's shot rock in the forefoot. So good shot by England. It also opens up the house a little bit for them so that they hopefully have a chance to get a good rock in there later on. But Finland continuing to use the same path that they have throughout this end and trying to get either a guard or a draw well placed there to block the path for England. Beautiful line there by the Finnish skip. It was absolutely perfect, the way it sailed through there. Unfortunately, just a little bit heavy, but that's always the case in the first end. A lot of the time that you're kind of still finding the weight, even though the teams do get a chance to train on the ice before the game. Today might be also a little bit different, maybe something that you can pay attention to for the teams, because the two side sheets next to this game are empty, and that can sometimes have a bit of an effect on the ice. On that side of sheet D, it might be a little bit slower because it might gather a little bit more frost, because there's not as much heat on the right hand side of the sheet since the sheets are empty. So will be interesting to see if we maybe see some draws later on in the game that don't quite finish where the team would expect them to, or the sweepers have a bit of trouble judging them. But for now, they seem to be doing very well with that. And that looked like a great shot by the English skip. It just caught the guard there, but it looks like it might be enough to leave them shot. It also looks like Finland does have a shot for taking that out. They would need to probably play the intern here, but it looks like they're maybe calling for a draw. Maybe they think there is no takeout here and they've decided to draw a little bit more, or they think that there is a path to come with through the house weight and just tap that yellow back a little bit. I'm trying to zoom in a little, but looks like there would be a chance for 3 or even 4 here if they are able to tap that yellow back. It seems like that was not the call though. They've just decided to go for a draw and maybe make sure that they get their 2 here. So looks like it was 1 point for Finland from the first end, and great shot there by the Finnish skip. The draw was just a tad heavy, but it was enough to score that one for Finland. And very nice line there for the first throw by the Finnish lead, Jasmin Satto. Weights close to perfect as well. Normally you would prefer the first shots to be just a little bit on top of the tee line, but this is definitely a rock that can come into play. even as a scoring rock later on in the end. And England getting ready to play and asking for a corner guard now that they've got the hammer. And a nice shot there too by the English lead Anna Howie. Maybe overcurls a little bit. They might have preferred it a little bit closer to the center line, but the weight is really nice, and that is definitely a rock that England may be able to use later on. Again, really nice weight control there by Yasmin, but maybe a little bit wide with the release, as you could see the Finnish skip showing that it must have maybe gotten a little bit wide with the release or the slide, but other than that, weight would have been perfect if they had just gotten it a little bit closer to the center line. And England here was probably calling for another guard with what their skip was showing, or maybe they would have been happy also with a come around to take the rock all the way into the house. But definitely looks like it could be an interesting end ahead. Finland now has control of the house, but the English team has a couple of guards that they can use later on in the game. A really nice shot there by the English player, and Finland going for a takeout as well, sweeping really hard, and it nicked the guard or the rock on the top 12 just a little bit, but still got the rock that they were going for, so it only changed direction slightly, so the sweepers were able to keep the line enough to just get to the rock that they were aiming for. And while we're waiting to see how this end starts to build up, looking at yesterday's results from the evening session at 8 o'clock, both of the teams here had their first game of the tournament, and England was playing against Poland and suffered a 1-8 loss. So it looked like a great game for Poland last night. Finland had a slightly more even match against Kazakhstan, but Kazakhstan won in the end 7-5. So both of the teams having the same problem, that the shots are over curling a little bit to what they would like, catching the guard on the left hand side there. It looks like the English skip Sydney Boyd took a little bit more ice for this next shot, so hopefully England is able to get that rock around the guard this time. And they do, and this time the line's beautiful, so is the weight. It is a little bit behind the tee line, so it gives Finland a chance to come around as well. And if they do freeze the English rock there on the tee line, they will probably be shot rock after that. It looked like the Finnish skip took a little bit less ice. It might be a difference in the way that the players release the rock. Finland is definitely not sweeping for line, so it still needs to curl to get to where it needs to. And not a bad shot at all there by the Finnish third, Josefina Sato. Very close to what they wanted, just slightly heavy, but the rock finished beautifully, so the line would have been perfect if it had had just a little bit less weight. And England and England's third, Annabelle Martin, trying to put more pressure on, going for another great draw to give their team a chance to score more than one here. England has got the hammer in this end. That looked like it might have just almost curled enough to tap the Finnish rock a little, but just missed it. Just a little bit heavy with that draw, and Finland now has the chance to try and get to that yellow rock. It is very well hidden though, so probably the best Finland can hope is to freeze their own rock onto that yellow, maybe tap it a little, but probably not enough to have two shot rocks after this shot. The Finnish skip Nora was playing some beautiful draws and freezes last night, so it looked like she really found the weight on this championship ice, and hopefully we see more of shots like that today. This seemed to have pretty good weight. The team was quite happy with the weight of the shot, looking at the sweeping, and but unfortunately the line was a little bit tight, and Finland has caught the center guard there. And an absolutely perfect shot there by the English skip Sydney Boyd. They judged the weight and line of that shot beautifully, didn't sweep it too early, and brought it in the end when they needed it to swing just a little bit to have it fully hidden behind the guard. And the weight is absolutely spot on as well. And with that, England was able to leave a very challenging shot for the Finnish skip for her last one. So Finland now looking at playing the run back with that center guard, hoping to catch either one or both of the English rocks. If the angle's absolutely perfect and they catch this red rock just a little bit to the right, almost straight on, there might be a chance for a double, but the double probably will have the run back rock rolling quite a bit to the left if they're successful with that. And Finland yelling really hard for line, so we'll see what happens. And a wonderful shot there too by the Finnish skip. I will try to zoom in for you guys a little bit to see who's shot at the moment. Not sure what you think, but to me it looks like Finland might be shot after this. Great stone by the Finnish skip. But it probably is quite close with the yellow stone on the left, because we don't have a direct view right on top of the house. And England, they're going for a little tap of that red one. They were hoping to catch the inside, the left side of that red rock, just move it a little bit to the right, and they might have had a chance to score 3 here. And it looked like a great effort by Sydney Boyd, but unfortunately overcurled a little bit and just caught the center card slightly. Teams now deciding which one they think is shot rock, and looks like it is very close, and we will be needing a measure to determine that. And it looks like that was very, very close indeed. But Finland just a little bit closer to the center, and they steal one from the second end. So after 2 ends, our total score is 2-0 for Finland. But some wonderful shot making there towards the end of that end by both of the teams. Very close for England to have gotten that last rock just past the guard, and they would have been scoring 3 there. So a pretty good end by both of the teams, and it looks like the players are starting to find the draw weight for this game. So with the setup of the third end, with the score being 2-0 for Finland, I suspect we'll see a relatively similar setup that we did in the last end. So Finland trying to control the center line, probably hoping to see their rocks in the house. But we could see Finnish skip asking for a guard there, but probably wanting to bring it really close to the house, so it is a rock that they can maybe tap into the house later on. And England wanting to control the sides of the house with corner guards, trying to direct the play to the sides of the house and make sure they have a chance for that last draw, and trying to keep the center open. And the second rock at the Finnish lead, Jasmin Sato. Nice weight, but overcurls a little bit to what they wanted. They would have wanted the rock to be a little bit closer to the center line. And the English are working hard to bring this rock behind the 2 red. Not a bad call to try to use the 2 Finnish rocks there. Unfortunately, was too tight for line and catches one of the Finnish guards. I would not have minded seeing England use their own corner guard on the right either. I think it's very well placed. It's nice and close to the house, so if you get a good draw in there, that would not be a bad shot either. Finland having the same problem, maybe not taking quite enough ice for these shots, or the teams might be a little bit soft with their release. The championship ice that the WCF ice guys make for these competition, it really tends to swing quite a bit more than the ice that you see in clubs. So it is always an adjustment for the teams to make sure they release the rock actively. They have enough rotation in their shots to really control the curl. So that might be part of the issue why we see quite a few shots at the moment still hitting the guards. So hopefully the teams are able to make that slight adjustment in their technique, or then choosing to take a little bit more ice for their shots. Finland choosing to go for a draw there, but unfortunately it is quite a bit too heavy. So an unfortunate miss there by Jasmine Nilasari. England clearly not liking how blocked the center line has become and choosing to go for a peel of the Finnish guard there. So peel meaning that they want to get rid of the guard, hoping to roll their own rock out as well. They don't quite get the line that they wanted with this one, but they are able to move their own center guard out of the way, get rid of the rock that they just played, and it does open the game up a little bit. Here Finland may be going for a straight draw behind the 3 red guards, or as an option, if it does overcurl a little bit, they might be looking at tapping one of their own ones in, and the line looks pretty good for that tap. It looks like the shot overcurled a little bit even for that tap, and there was just slightly too much weight, and the rock doesn't stay in the house, unfortunately for Finland. And before we get to the skip rocks of this end, let me tell you quickly what's going on the other sheets. So Scotland started strong against Slovenia, took a 3 in the first end. The score there is now 3-1 after 2 ends. Poland, Japan are keeping it very clean. They have played 3 ends now, and the score is 0-0. Hungary, Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is leading 1-0 after 2 ends. And while we were going through the results, England was able to put a little bit more pressure on Finland, and Finland is trying to just follow that path. The line of the shot looked pretty good, but it was missing a little bit weight and slows down to just in front of the house. And England gets another chance to put another rock in there. Ideally, England would probably want to keep this rock on the top 8 of the house, so on the white rings on top of the house, just to make sure that it doesn't come too deep in the house and give Finland a chance to freeze it and be shot rock after that shot. With the weight this is moving, it doesn't look like it'll end up being too heavy, but to me that was the right margin of error. You don't mind having a guard there when you're lined up that well, and you're controlling the house and there's a lot of guards in play. That will be a great rock for England to use for their skip rocks as well, should Finland be able to get a rock in there. And for the Finnish skip here, lots of options to tap some red rocks into the house. There's really 2 different lines that they can use here. If the shot seems like it's a little heavy, they could use these 2 red rocks that are more to the left of the center line and try to catch the yellow rock in the house. Or then there's a pretty good line from the other 2 reds that are closer to the center line. And so we'll see what happens. They seem pretty happy with the line and weight, but unfortunately the shot completely overcurled on them. Maybe it did something unexpected. And they were a little bit late with the sweeping, and there wasn't quite enough weight to get the Finnish red rocks really moving. Good effort there, though, by the Finnish skip. And looking at where England put the broom for this shot, they are trying to come through that white gap between the two yellow rocks and play a third draw into the house. It looked like that shot had pretty good weight. It probably would have ended up in a nice spot in the house, but unfortunately the line wasn't enough. It overcurled just a little, but it does block that same draw from Finland. Maybe there might be a way to get through that tiny gap now, but it would also be a risky choice because it would be very likely to tap one of the yellow rocks into the house and possibly give England a chance to score a 4 here. So I'm really liking the choice Finland is looking at here of tapping the red rocks in. I'm hoping that since they are taking the same amount of ice for this shot as they did for the previous one, we will see the Finnish skip play a little bit more weight and control the line of the rock that way, because in the previous one it was a good effort, but it just overcurled in the end and didn't have enough weight to really tap any of the rocks in. A discussion still going on by the Finnish skip and vice skip. It looks like Nora wanted to maybe see the line a little bit or have a discussion about where to put the broom to get the best end result. And here we go now with a last stroke of the Finnish skip for the third end. And quite a bit more weight to this shot. And wow, a great result there by the Finnish. They were probably hoping to hit it a little bit straighter and catch the yellow as they do, but when you have such a good setup of guards that are very close to the house, you have a lot of different angles to get a good end result there. So yeah, a great finish. It really bailed Finland out of trouble because it was looking like England had a great chance to get a score of 3 there. And here England looking at that promotions takeout, so they are going to try and catch the yellow one on the top 12 as much as they can to get rid of that red rock on the blue rings. And that would now be scoring Finland 1 from this end. Not an easy shot for the English skip, but let's see how she does. Oh, and so close. Really did not need to go much more, and they would have caught the right-hand side of that red and have it moving a little bit to the left and hopefully completely out of the house. So great effort there by Sydney Boyd. Not an easy shot at all for her last one. So thanks to a great shot by the Finnish skip, Finland manages to take a steal of one in the third in a situation that looked like England was really in control in the end of that end. And really nice line there by the Finnish lead Jasmin Sato for her first shot. Finland was probably hoping to maybe bring it all the way into the house, but not a bad call to have it as a center guard either. They have had luck with the aggressive approach that they've been using in this game, so they might just want to keep going on with the stealing. And England changing their strategy slightly. They have been calling for a corner guard with their previous first shots, and now that Finland left that center guard there, the English skip chooses to use that center guard and try to bring their own one behind it. Unfortunately, the line was great, but the weight was just a little heavy, and the stone finishes just outside of the house. It is still in play though, just touching the back line of the playing area. And another beautiful shot there by Jasmin. It looked like there was a opportunity to really make that perfect. Maybe just a little bit more sweeping and they would have had it fully buried and touching the button of the house, but still staying on top of the house. Now England can see about half of that, and they're going for a nice control weight takeout with the second shot of their lead, Anna Howie, and she plays it absolutely perfect. And Finland continues to be brave and chooses to ignore the yellow English rock since it was almost fully buried. They thought, we're just go ahead and keep stealing since it's been working for us, and plays a beautiful draw. Even though it catches the yellow English rock a little bit, it still finishes during the last half a meter. It finishes nicely and ends up being shot rock. So a really, really nice draw there by the Finnish second player, Jasmine Nilosari. Not quite sure what the call was for that rock we just saw from England. They might have been wanting to place it to the side of the house somewhere on the tee lane as a rock that they can use later on, or maybe something funny happened and the rock just lost its line. And another great looking shot coming in by Jasmine, and it looks like she really found her draw weight for this end, putting a lot of pressure on the English team. The English skip Sydney wondering what to do with the next rock, trying to see if they could maybe play straight onto those ones, and there might be some chances on the right hand side for the English team as well, with their own yellow rock. So that could be something that they could use for a tap back later on in this end. But this is looking great. Gets rid of one of the Finnish rocks in the center and leaves their own rock in a very good position to be used later on. But a good call there too by the Finnish skip Nora, and calls for a guard right away. Recognizes that yellow rock that was just played is the best chance for England to be scoring from this end, and chooses to guard the shot rock, the Finnish shot rock in the house. And it'll be interesting to see what happens next. The Finnish guard unfortunately overcurls a little bit. Weight was maybe just slightly too heavy, and it finishes more than they would have hoped. And it leaves England with a chance to try to use that yellow that they just placed there. Not an easy shot for sure. They don't see very much of it, and with the way these rocks finish, it is a challenge to get past those guards. And looks like that center guard was enough for Finland this time. And pretty good placement there by the Finnish third, Josefina Sato. Just a little heavy again with the guard, but it still does block that shot a little bit more than to what the situation was before it. But England does have that shot there, and now the guards aren't so far away from the house. But here we see an unfortunate miss from the other side of that rock. They probably thought they really don't want to catch another guard again, and maybe took a little bit more ice and played it a little bit more heavy than the previous one, and then there was a miss on the other side. With the way both of the teams have been playing quite aggressively and a lot of draws, there's not been a lot of misses like that. There's been quite a lot of at least 50% results in this game so far. And with the first rock of the Finnish skip, it looks like Finland is finally able to place that guard to where they wanted. It is now blocking the best shot that England has in this end, to trying to get rid of that shot rock that Finland placed there earlier on. It was well judged for line and well swept by the sweepers. Not to bring it too far. In the previous shots, the guards were all over curling a little bit. England trying to look for options here. And the English girls trying to show their coach to keep moving faster. They want to be talking to him already. I don't know what the travel time here is, but I think there's quite a lot of it. The coaches have to go around the entire rink pretty much to get to the entrance onto the ice to be able to talk to the players. So there must be quite a bit of travel time allowed for the coaches. So during timeouts, the teams get the predetermined travel time when the teams can already talk amongst each other and not use any of their game time. And then they get the 1 minute to talk to the coach when he gets there. And looking at the playing clock, England's actual minute of the timeout has just started, so their coach traveled in good time. So they will have a good chance to really discuss what they want to do here, what they maybe want to do with the next shot. To me, it looks like England, unfortunately, really doesn't have any very good shots here. The only two possibilities that I can see that are both very, very risky is the one that they're probably looking to go for here. I'm thinking where they're putting the broom, they're planning to play the outturn and trying to run back that red guard there left of the center line and run it onto their own yellow in the house and hoping to catch the Finnish shot rock with that. So sort of a promotion takeout. Another option, depending on the angles, might have been to use the two red Finnish rocks, but it doesn't look like a very good one either. Looks like what they decided to go for with the first one was a peel of the guard, a really good choice to try to give themselves a chance to have some kind of opportunity for the last rock. So that was the first rock of the English skip Sydney Boyd, and they wanted to open up the guard and give themselves a chance to have something to play at for the last rock. So for the last rock of the Finnish skip, obviously the choice will be to replace that guard and try to make sure England doesn't really have a shot left for their last rock of this end. And as the rock's coming in, the line's looking pretty good, but Norother is telling the rest of the team not to sweep it. It's curling a little bit more than the previous one. Just leave it. And good call. It is where they need it to be. Unfortunately, it doesn't leave England with a chance to run it back. The line on this second guard is almost better than the previous one, since now it's not a rock that England could run back even if they wanted to. At least to me, it looks like the line from here isn't there, and what England is planning to do is just play a draw. That'll be better than the one that we have touching the button. So again, not an easy shot for Sydney Boyd for her last rock. She has been very, very close with all of her last rocks. They've all been great efforts to get the team on the scoreboard. And the team and the skip look pretty happy with the weight of this draw as it's coming in. The line's looking pretty good too, so we'll see what happens. Another beautiful effort there by Sydney. Not far at all. The line would have been just enough. It looks like it was just a little too heavy to get to where it needed to be. So great effort. What this means is Finland's brave stealing and taking a bit of risks with their strategy is really paying off. The rocks were placed really well in that end for Finland. It didn't really leave a lot of options for England. All of the shots that they could have been able to play were quite challenging, and that's what Finland seems to be counting on at the moment. So another steal of 1 for Finland for a total score of 4-0 after 4 ends. And the teams now go into their 4th end break. And while they do, I will update our score and I will give you results from the other sheets soon. So on our sheet A, Scotland is having a great game against Slovenia, it looks like. Scotland is leading 7-1 after 4 ends. The Poland-Japan game is looking very different on the scoreboard, so only one team has gotten onto the scoreboard so far. After 4 ends, it is 1-0 for Poland. And as our feature game is having its break, I will try to give you a view of the game on the next sheet, where we have Kazakhstan playing Hungary in a game that's looking pretty even. So the score there after 4 ends is 3-2 for Hungary. And they have just started their 5th end there. And welcome back to the fifth end of our feature game, Finland versus England. After 4 ends, the score is 4-0 for Finland. The game has been a lot more even than that, though England has had some great chances for 2 or 3 points. At some point, Finland has succeeded in a bailout shot that's really helped them out in the end. They have been very brave with their strategy of stealing and just not worried about any of the English rocks in the house, and managed to get a few beautiful draws that have allowed them the 3 consecutive steals in the second, third, and fourth end. We see Finland continuing with the strategy that has been working for them. They're attempting to control the center line. England is trying to direct the game more towards the side of the house, trying to make sure that this time they will have some shots left for their last rock. Sydney has been playing some wonderful last rocks with her stones, but unfortunately she's always been left in quite a challenging position and has some very tough shots to perform to try to put England on the scoreboard. Now we see England got a couple of rocks in there to control the top of the house, and Finland changing the strategy a little bit compared to the first half of the game. They're now playing a couple of takeouts, trying to make sure they don't give England a chance to score a big end here after the break. England looking to replace that draw with the shot of the second player. Unfortunately, falls a little bit short, and Finland doesn't seem to mind having that yellow rock in there. They are planning to try and get that draw between the yellow and the red guard and be the first team to really get a very good draw in there. And apologies for the viewers, it seems like our system needs a reboot. It looks like the image there is frozen. So I will restart the system, and it'll take us about 4 or 5 minutes before we have it all back working and go live again. So bear with us, we will be back shortly. So welcome back to our live stream. Sorry about that. The system takes a while to reboot if there's an issue. Hope you can see the image okay now. So while we were on our technical break, we have gotten to the skip rocks of end number 5 here. The situation in the house hasn't changed very much since you last saw it. So Finland still has 1 in the rings, and it is now time for the last rock, I think, of the Finnish skip. And their goal is just to put another guard in there and try to make it more challenging for the English skip to draw into the house. Finland doesn't have a very good shot rock at the moment, but they just wanted to play it safe and make sure that the only shot England has left is to play another draw into the house. If England was feeling very, very brave, they could have the option of splitting that yellow rock that is just left of the center line. But it is not an easy split. You need to catch it really thin and with enough weight to move the yellow rock into the house, and also keep moving your own rock into the house. So it is definitely the safer bet to just try and draw that one into the house. Okay, and England gets their team on the scoreboard with a score of 1. So after 5 ends, the total score of our feature game is 4-1. And for this 6th end, the roles have changed. So the English are now going to adopt the strategy Finland's been using most of the game. So they put up a center guard that overcurls a little bit, but is in a pretty good position. And their goal in this end will be trying to keep stealing their way back into the game. And a great shot there by Jasmin Sato, the Finnish lead. Beautiful line. Maybe could have swept it just a little bit earlier to bring it a little bit further, but it is in a great spot in the house and looks to be pretty much fully buried behind the guard. And while the leads are setting up this end, I'll talk you through the results of the other sheets that are happening here. So in the game next to us, Hungary-Kazakhstan, Hungary is leading 5-2 after 5 ends. Poland-Japan, after 5 ends, the score there is 1-2. And Scotland's continuing to play very well against Slovenia. And the score there after 5 ends is 9-1. And another great shot there by Yasmin Sato, taking out the yellow English rock that Anna Howie placed there in a pretty good spot for England to use later on. So we're seeing a good level of play from both of the leads here. The Red Rocks are in a position to be taken out, but you could not see a lot of the Red Rock on the left, and that's why England had to play a relatively tight line if they wanted to go for a takeout, and unfortunately didn't quite make it, so they took out their own guard with that rock. Strategically, that's very unfortunate for England at the moment, because they really need those guards up to give themselves a chance to steal. Finland does have the hammer for this 6th end, so Finland won't mind at all keeping the game open, just playing the rocks into the house. And another good draw there from Finland. They're just piling the rocks there and hoping that England will start taking them out, and then Finland can continue on that path for the rest of the end. A good result here for Finland is a score, but also they won't mind if this end ends up at 0 and Finland just keeps keeping the hammer for the rest of the game and maintaining their lead in the game that way. An okay result there by the English second Mia Andal. Moves the rocks around a little bit and gets rid of one of the Finnish rocks. And Finland's looking at their best rock in the house and are pretty happy where it's placed, and I would be too. It's controlling the center line, it's on top of the house. It's going to be a draw that'll be relatively hard to beat. So they decide, okay, it's looking pretty good, let's guard it. And that's really nice guard placement by the Finnish second, Jasmine Nilasari. England now looking at that double that they can see from the right-hand side. And a good effort. Just a little bit wide. It needed to curl more and get more straight hit on the first rock to get that double from both of the rocks, both of the Finnish rocks in the house. And a good effort with their guard there. Finland calling the line nicely. Not sure how much communication there was, but it looked like it was slightly too heavy. It would have ended up in the house. So Finland gets a little rub of that other guard and keeps the stone moving forward, and now the guards are placed really well to protect that shot rock Finland has on the top forefoot. England's deciding it's too late to do anything about the guards, and they really do need those guards as well for that steal that they need to get back into the game. So they're trying to draw behind, but unfortunately, while the weight is pretty good in this shot, it would have probably come a little bit further if the line had been better. This was a little bit wide this time, and it doesn't finish quite where England wants it to. And for this shot, Finland going for a hidden roll off of that one and makes it beautifully. Good line calling there by the Finnish skip, and well swept and thrown by the rest of the team. This seems like one of the better played ends by Finland. They have really not missed much in this end. There's been really good draw weight, good execution in their shots, and good line calling. So they're making things quite challenging for England. But there is still room for that draw, and if England does get it in there, it'll be tough to get it out with the way the rocks are lined up at the moment. Unfortunately for England, though, this one has the same problem, that it overcurls like some of the other rocks that we've seen played in this game, and opens things up a little bit for Finland, and still at the same time leaves the Finnish rock pretty well covered. It looked to me that the Finnish skips were deciding to tap their own red one back that you can see on the top 12 foot, so on the red rings there. It is quite an aggressive call considering the situation they're in. They could just opt to go for a guard that would block that yellow guard a little bit and block that red one that they can see. But then on the other hand, if they play the shot well and they're able to tap that red one further, it'll put even more pressure on the English team. It seems like for this shot, a guard was also an option. Unfortunately, it overcurls, so it's not really blocking that yellow one that the English team has on the right. It seems, though, it is a rock that the English are not interested in using at this point, and they are choosing to go for that draw. And not a bad choice at all. It's a pretty good idea to try to get it that way. They don't really have good angles from that yellow one. There might be a very, very tricky double, but it seems to be more risk than it's worth. English sweepers working hard on this draw. The line is looking really tight, and unfortunately the problem seemed to be with weight. The line might have been okay, but it just needed a little bit more weight. What we might start to see happen is, because there's no games going on the sheets left of this sheet, it might affect the weight a little bit, so that side of our sheet might be a little bit frostier so some of the draws might lose a bit of their weight, and you need to play it a little bit heavier than you would on the right hand side, because on the right hand side we do have games going on, so that temperature affects the ice a little bit. It looked like Finland's choice for the last rock was to try and get through that little gap between the red and yellow guards there. But for that shot, it overcurls slightly, and Finland probably didn't want to risk it too much, so didn't want to play it too heavy to risk tapping a yellow one into the rings. But even with that, Finland takes a score of 2 and a 6-1 lead in the game. So 2 more runs to go. Finland's leading 6-1 after 6 ends. So England's going to be have to working really hard to try to get their team back into the game. Finland's lead, Yasmin Sato, places the first rock in a beautiful line just in front of the house. Finland would not have minded to bring that rock all the way into the house with the lead that they have in this game at the moment, but when a guard is that close to the house, it's definitely not a disaster either. The second rock of Yasmin is underway. It's looking like it's got a bit more weight to it, but it's slowing down nicely as it's getting closer to the house, and the sweepers are waiting for it to slow down. A little bit too far back, but still in that same beautiful line. And I personally prefer it, if it's too heavy, to rather bring it to the back 12 of the house than maybe leave it on the back 4 and give England a great chance to try and freeze it and really take control of that forefoot. So not a bad result for Finland there. And England following along that same path, trying to be the first team to take control of that forefoot, so the blue rings, but unfortunately this shot is a little bit too heavy. It seems the Finnish team has really found out where to place the broom for each of the players. There's always slight differences in the technique the players have, and the way they release the rock and the amount of rotation they put into it affects the curl. So it looks like in this game, the skip and the team has been able to figure out where they need to put the broom to get the line that they want. And we need to bear in mind this is only the second game for both of the teams in this championship, so they are still getting used to these conditions and the amount of curl that you get in this kind of ice. It seemed like the feeling both of the teams had for the first two ends was pretty similar, but I think after that Finland has gotten slightly better with their draw weight and has really figured out where to put the broom to get the result that they want. And England's also been looking a lot better with the draw weight, but unfortunately they've been catching a lot of the guards that they're trying to come around. So Finland here, the first team to get their rock on the forefoot. It is a little bit far back, a little too deep in the house to what they probably would want, and it gives England the chance to try and draw a really good shot in there. And not a bad effort, just slightly too heavy as well. Doesn't quite curl enough because of the weight. The line looked very good other than that. They are able to tap the Finnish rock back a little bit, but not leave their own rock in a great position. So now for the Finnish third, Josefina Sato. Finland's looking at a control weight takeout, so they're hoping to tap that yellow rock out of the house and maybe get a little bit of a hit and roll off of that and roll their own one a little bit to the right behind the two yellow guards there. And Finland is able to catch the left-hand side of that yellow. Not exactly the hit they were looking for. They wanted to hit it on the other side, but lucky for them, it doesn't jam. It rolls just enough to leave Finland still lying shot behind the guards. And England's still looking for that perfect draw behind those yellow guards. And unfortunately with this, there's just not enough weight in the shot. But as you can see, a line would have been lovely. It just needed a couple meters more weight. And before we get to the skip rocks, just a quick update on what's going on in the other sheets. Scotland and Slovenia finished after 6 ends as Slovenia shook hands, and the total score for that was 9-1. Poland and Japan, the score there is currently 1-3. Japan's leading, and they have played the first 6 ends of that game. And on the sheet next to us, Hungary, Kazakhstan. After 5 ends, Hungary is leading 5-2. And things will probably be a little bit interesting in the game next to us, actually. I'm just looking at the time clocks of the teams, and Hungary has only 6 minutes and 33 seconds on their left on their time clock for this game, and they have just finished the 6th end. So Hungary has a little bit more than 3 minutes for both of the remaining ends of the game, and Kazakhstan has just narrowed the gap as they scored 2. So the score there now is 5-4 for Hungary. And Finland making their way towards the house with the first rock of the Finnish skip. The goal here is probably either to get a really, really good draw in there or have enough weight to tap that yellow one back. From here, I can't quite tell which one of the rocks is the shot rock. We'll try to zoom in a little to give you a better angle. Not sure what you think, but I think it looks like it might be Finland. The red one on the right of the center line might be just slightly better than the yellow, as Finland didn't seem too upset about leaving a guard there. But it definitely looks like it will be a measure if those two are the final rocks that the teams will be looking at the end of the end. Really good effort there by Sydney Boyd with her first rock of the end. Looks like it's not quite enough to be second shot, depending on what's going on there with the two of the rocks at the back of the house or the back of the tee line. But a really good line. Just needed to bring it a little bit further to make that perfect draw. With that last rock of the Finnish skip, the goal was probably to get a really nice draw in there. Unfortunately, it was a little heavy. It splits the Finnish rock on the left-hand side of the house, and the best choice here for England is to try to get a draw onto the 4-foot rings of the house. Sydney's previous shot was absolutely great. Just needed a little bit more weight or a little bit more sweeping. So I'm sure she'll be feeling pretty good to throw this, because she can just repeat what she did before. And if this draw is looking good and she can get into the button or the 4-foot rings, I think it will be a measure for 2 for England. Sweepers working really hard on this. The line's still looking pretty good. It is a little bit tight. And it really was a sort of a repeat performance of the previous shot. So it was a little bit short, unfortunately. Again, great line there, but just not quite enough weight. From my point of view, I couldn't really tell which one's scoring. But I see umpire put 1 point on the scoreboard for England. So after 7 ends, the total score is 6-2 for Finland. And as we go into the final end of this game, Finland will be having a 4-point lead as well as the last stone. And while I was looking the other way, the teams seem to have shaken hands, and Finland has won this game 6-2. A really good effort by England, though. It was a lot closer, especially in the first few ends of the game. Finland took some big risks with their stealing, and it paid off this time. The right shots were made at the right time, and they left some very challenging shots for the English fourth, Sydney Boyd. We will get you the audio of an interview after the game, so if you want to stay tuned for that, please do. And then we'll also give you the image of the other game that's going on. That should be quite interesting. It's 5-4 for Hungary at the moment. Hungary is gonna have to hurry probably in the last end unless they really pick up the pace in this 7th end. They have been using very little time so far, so they are aware that they don't have a lot of time left on the clock. But stay tuned for an interview if a couple of our students are able to grab some of the players as they come out. No niin, onneksi olkoon voitosta. Eka voitto tässä turnauksessa nyt tokassa pelissä. Miltäs nyt tuntuu ja mikä fiilis jäi tuosta pelistä?
Hyvältä tuntuu. Ja tästä pelistä niin meillä meni ekat 4 päätä tosi hyvin. Et me oltiin ihan vahvoilla ja sitten 4 viimeisessä päässä alkoi vähän sitten viimeisellä heitolla niin mennä huonommin, mutta kyllä me taisteltiin.
No munkin mielestä meni ihan hyvin. Ehkä kans sit niinku ekat 4 päät meni hyvin, et sit sen jälkeen ehkä vähän alkoi toi niinku väsymystä tulemaan, mut ihan tyytyväinen tähän peliin on.
Kyllä, ja selkein lukemin voititte kuitenkin, että tavallaan koko ajan oli peli hallussa. No mitäs nyt muuten, mikä vaikutelma kisoista? Monetta kertaa olette yleensä näissä kisoissa, ja niin mikä vaikutelma nyt, kun on kuitenkin vasta pari peliä takana, eli enemmän on vielä jäljellä, kun on pelattu?
No mulle tää oli, mä en tiedä kuinka mones kisa ja muuta, ja niin, en mä tiedä.
Ja verrattuna esimerkiksi viime vuoteen, onko jotenkin eri fiiliset? Tuntuuko, että on vähän levollisempi olo jäällä kuin enemmän jo kokemusta? Tai onko se aina yhtä jännittävää palata edustusjoukkueeseen?
No mulla oli ihan hyvät 2 vuoden tauko, niin on tää ihan kiva palata ja mulla on vielä vuosi jäljellä, niin se on ihan hauska.
Tää oli mun toinen vuosi täällä pelaamassa ja kyllä sen ainakin itse huomaan, että on paljon paremmin niin menee nämä pelit, mitä viime vuoteen verrattuna, että näkyy semmoista kehitystä, että vielä on kyllä paljon parannettavaa, mutta ihan hyvällä fiiliksellä jatketaan.
Joo, mä näinkin eilen sen teidän pelin, kun olette nyt 2 kertaa telkkaan osunut, niin mun mielestä tosi paljon oli niin kuin määrisvoimat kehittynyt ihan tässä jo 2 pelin aikana. Eli varmasti koko ajan suunta on ylöspäin. Ketäs teillä on nyt seuraavaksi vastassa sitten?
Puola vissiin, Unkari tai Puola vissiin, joo.
Ja milloin tämä peli on tulossa? Nyt ette taida telkassa olla enää onneksi, että saatte pelata ihan rauhassa.
Ei oltu, se on huomenna 12.
No niin, eli sitten Suomi-fanit yleisössä voi siinä vaiheessa tulla seuraamaan. Kiitos teille ja tsemppiä jatkoon!